안녕하세요, 진쌤입니다. Hi, this is JINSAM. This is the video of Level 3 중급 1. We are on Unit 13, 직장생활. It's the reading section. So here's the question. Number 1. 이 조사의 질문으로, 이 설문조사의 질문으로 맞는 것은 무엇입니까? So what is the correct question for this survey question? Okay, so you gotta pick the right survey question. Number 1. 직장 생활 중에 언제 필요가 쌓입니까? So, of your work life, among your work life, when it becomes fatigue. Okay, when do you get more fatigue? Number 2, 직장 생활이 힘들 때, when you're having a hard time of the work life, 이직을 생각한 적이 있습니까? 이직을 생각하다, have you considered changing jobs? Consider changing jobs. Number 3, 직장 생활이 힘들 때, when you're having difficulties at your work life, 이겨내기 위해 무엇을 합니까? What do you do in order to overcome? In order to overcome, what do you do? 직장 생활이 힘들 때, number 4, when your work life is difficult, 가장 힘이 되는 사람은 누구입니까? Who's the person? 자, 가장 힘이 되다. Who is the person who cheer you up the most? Okay, number 2. 자, 직장인들이 직장 생활에서 가장 힘든 것은 무엇입니까? So the workers at the work life, what's the most difficult things of their work life? Okay, number 3. 윗글의 내용과 같으면 O, 다르면 X 하세요. So the matching question. So question number 1. 자, 직장인들은 대인관계보다 업무 성과 때문에 더 힘들어한다. So more than. So the workers having a hard time because of the 업무 성과, because of the result. The work result more than 대인 관계, the relationship, interpersonal relationship. Number 2, 돈을 받지 못하기 때문에 야근을 하는 것이 힘들다고 한다. Because they don't get paid, it is difficult for them to do work overtime. To work overtime, 야근을 하다. 자, 취미 생활을 하면서 직장에서 받은 스트레스를 푸는 사람도 있다. So there are some people who 스트레스를 푸다, release the stress from workplace by doing 취미 생활을 하다, enjoy hobby. By enjoying their hobby, there are some people who release the stress. Okay? So, let's take a look at the paragraph. So, here is the question. 샐러리맨, 직장 생활의 어려움, 이렇게 이겨낸다. So, salaryman, it's the Konglish. I would say like salary man. So, normally it's the word for workers. Okay, the workers. 직장 생활의 어려움, 이렇게 이겨낸다. The difficulties of work life, 이렇게 이겨낸다. This is how they overcome. Okay, that's the title. So, first paragraph. 잡코리아가 직장인 1049명을 대상으로 직장에서 가장 힘든 일을 어떻게 이겨내는지 설문조사를 실시했다. So, 잡코리아가 설문조사를 실시했다. So Zap Korea is the name of the company. Zap Korea conduct a survey about the most difficult thing at workplace and so how they overcome those difficult things. And their targeting, it's the workers, 1,049 workers. Okay, so Korea did conduct a survey. And first question, 첫 번째는 the question 1. 직장 생활을 하면서 언제 힘든지 물어봤다. So they ask when they are having a hard time while they are working. So 직장 생활을 하면서 언제 힘든지 물어봤다. 자, 가장 많은 대답은 the most answer is that 직장인들은 대인관계 때문에 스트레스를 받아서 힘들다는 것이었다. So the most people answer that because of the interpersonal relationship, they get stressed, and that's what makes their work is difficult. 자, 직장에서는 and here's why. At workplace, 성격이 다른 사람과 같이 일해야 하고 you have to work together with a person who has a different personality. 성격이 다른 사람과 who has different personality. You have to work with them together. And 사장님, 부장님, 차장님, 대리님 등의 상사와의 상하 관계도 어렵다고 한다. So the 상하 관계 is like the relationship between subordinates and superiors. So it's like your boss and you. So that 상하 관계 with the boss, but what kind of boss? So at a Korean company, there are so many different bosses. So 사장님 will be the president, and then president of the company, and 부장님 will be the head of the department, and 차장님 can also be like the director, and 대리님 can be like the manager. Okay, so there are so many like bosses there, and the relationship with them is difficult. 다음으로 next, 야근을 하거나 work overtime or 주말에 출근해야 할 때, when they have to work overtime or they have to go to work on the weekends, that's difficult. So why? So here's why. 자, 야근이나 주말 근무를 하면 if you work overtime or work on the weekend, 수당을 받기는 하지만 you get paid for overtime. You get paid for overtime work, but 쉬지 못해, you can't rest. Because you can rest, 피로가 쌓이기 때문에, because you become fatigued. Because of that, it's difficult. And 그리고 자기가 하는 일에서 좋은 성과를 얻어야 하는 부담감도 직장인들을 힘들게 하는 이유 중에 하나라고 한다. So the 부담감, the burden. It's the burden that they have to get the good result. They have to get a good result from what they're doing. That burden, it's also 이유 중에 하나, one of the reasons that makes the workers hard. So first paragraph. So what is the first paragraph is about? So first paragraph is mainly about 직장 생활에서의 힘든 점. So that was the first question, right? And the second paragraph. 다음으로 next. 자, 직장 생활을 하면서 어려움을 극복해 가기 위해 무엇을 하는지 물어봤다. So this is the second question. 자, while they're working, while they're having their work life, 어려움을 극복해 가기 위해 in order to overcome 극복하다, overcome their difficulties. They ask what they do in order to overcome the difficulties. That was the second question. So 많은 사람들이 시간이 있으면 아무것도 하지 않고 휴식을 하면서 스트레스를 푸는 것이 최고의 방법이라고 했다. So a lot of people saying that when they have time, 아무것도 하지 않고 they do nothing, and then 휴식을 하면 they just rest, and 스트레스를 푸는 것, release stress is the best way. So a lot of people say that it's the best way. Not doing anything, just get rest and release the stress by doing it. 그리고 자신이 좋아하는 일을 하거나 or they're doing what they like to do or 취미 생활을 하면서 by enjoying hobby, 취미 생활, enjoying my hobby, 재충전을 한다고 했다. They recharge. So they recharge themselves by enjoying their hobbies or doing what they like to do. And also, 또한 힘들게 해서 번 돈으로, so with the money that they work hard for, 자신이 좋아하는 것을 사는 것도, the things, it's the buying what they like. Also, 기분이 좋아지는 일이라고 했다. So it also is the thing that make them feel good. So second paragraph, what are they talking about? Second paragraph, it's 직장 생활에서의 어려움, 극복, 방법. So the second paragraph, it was about the second question, right? 자, 어떻게 어려움을 극복하는지, how to overcome the difficulties, right? And the first paragraph, it's about first questions, like 언제 힘든지, what's the difficult things at work. Okay, so let's go back to the questions. Number one, 이 설문조사의 질문으로 맞는 것은 무엇입니까? So what is the right question for this survey? 자, 언제 피로가 쌓입니까? So when do you become fatigued? But the first paragraph, it's about 어려움, like 힘든 일, right? 언제 힘든지, and then they give you like a couple of reasons. And the second paragraph, it's about 극복하기 위해 무엇을 하는지, so 극복 방법, right? So 피로가 쌓인다, it's just one of the reasons, right? So it can't be. 자, 이직을 생각한 적이 있습니까? Have you considered changing jobs? But here, changing jobs, it never mentioned it. So cannot be the answer. 직장 생활이 힘들 때 이겨내기 위해 무엇을 합니까? So in order to overcome difficulties, what do you do? That could be the right answer. That's why they mentioned about the difficulties first and then how to overcome. Number 4, 직장 생활이 힘들 때 가장 힘이 되는 사람은 누구입니까? So when you're having difficulties at work, who is the person that cheers you up the most? But 힘이 되는 사람, it was not mentioned at all. So cannot be the answer. So number 2, 가장 힘든 점. So the difficulties, 어려움 is mentioned in the first paragraph. But there are a couple of options, right? But 가장 많은 데다. The most people answer this is the 가장 힘든 것. 즉, 대인관계 때문에 스트레스를 받아서 힘들다. What's the reason? 대인관계, the interpersonal relationship. 그래서 가장 힘든 것은 대인관계 문제입니다. Interpersonal relationship problem. 자, 내용과 같으면 O, 다르면 X 하세요. 자, 직장인들은 대인관계보다 업무 성과 때문에 더 힘들어한다. So the work result is what makes them more difficult than the relationship. However, they did not compare. It's just one of the reasons, right? So 대인관계, it's first the reason, and another one, what So 좋은 성과를 얻는다, getting a good result was just one of the reasons. So it's more equal. Number 2. 돈을 받지 못하기 때문에 야근을 하는 것이 힘들다. Because they don't get paid and that's why the work overtime is difficult. However, they didn't mention it here. 자, 야근이나 주말 근무를 하면 수당을 받기는 하지만 they did get overtime pay. But the reason is they can't get rest and they become fatigued and that's the reason. So 돈을 받지 못하기 때문에 not correct. 돈을 받기는 하지만. And number 3. 취미 생활을 하면서 직장에서 받은 스트레스를 푸는 사람도 있다. So the way how they overcome the stress was on the second paragraph. The way how they stress. 아무것도 하지 않고 휴식을 하면서 스트레스를 푼다. 좋아하는 일을 하거나 취미 생활을 하면서 재충전을 한다. So they didn't mention it. The enjoying the hobby. Doing the hobby is also one of the reasons. It can be also the way of like releasing stress. So number 3 is correct. Okay, so that was all. I know it was a lot of information, so don't give up and make sure you review to fully understand the passage.